Hello class, my name is Travis Bowman, and for my presentation I've chosen to discuss author Gary Paulsen. This is a picture of Mr. Paulsen. Gary Paulsen was born in 1939 in Minnesota, and he grew up in a very broken home. He did really poorly in school, he failed most subjects, he's never a very big reader, but then one day a public librarian gave him his first library book and his very own library card. And from that day on he was hooked. He was reading everything he could get his hands on, just book after book after book. Now, you probably know Mr. Paulsen from his most popular book, Hatchet. And Hatchet was actually the very first book that I read by Gary Paulsen, and it's what got me hooked. I just could not get enough of Gary Paulsen after reading Hatchet. Hatchet is about a boy named Brian who his parents have been divorced, so he's flying from his mother to go see his father for the summer. His father lives in Canada. So as he's flying in this really tiny, what's called a bush plane, and his pilot dies, and they crash land in the middle of a lake out in the middle of the wilderness. And Brian's forced to survive in the wilderness with nothing but just a few things that he had on him and his hatchet. And it's just a wonderful kind of coming-of-age story about a boy getting close to nature and finding himself and pondering kind of life in general. So the wonderful thing about that book is it got readers so hooked and inspired that it encouraged them to write to Mr. Paulsen about the ending of the book, because Brian is rescued before winter hits, and they wanted to know, well, what happens if Brian hadn't been rescued, if he has to endure the winter. So it actually inspired Gary Paulsen to write an alternate ending, another book called Brian's Winter, and it's really amazing that his fans were able to have that kind of an impact on his writing. Now, Mr. Paulsen has written over 175 books. He's written over 200 short stories and articles and things of that nature. So his work has just been extensive. He writes and writes. He said he would write anything from 10 to 12 hours a day, just like working overtime at a job. Like he's completely dedicated. One of his most popular quotes that I've just fallen in love with is he always tells children to read like a wolf eats. Read when they tell you not to read what they tell you not to read. He's just been a huge proponent for getting children to read, which is kind of wonderful considering that as a child himself, he never really was a big reader until someone came along and really inspired that in him. He has written so many books that are based on his own personal life, such as books about him running the Iditarod, it's about a 1,180-mile dog sled race in Alaska through the Alaskan country. Like it's just insane. The things that he's encountered and the life or death experiences that he's written about, and all these they're true. And so he's been able to write about them with this kind of conviction and honesty that you don't see in a whole lot of nonfiction books. And you really don't see a lot of books in this genre about dog sledding and trapping and things like that, especially ones that really appeal to the children age group. He is just a very genuine, honest person. He doesn't pull any punches in his writing. He's been very truthful in the way that he portrays not only himself, but also the people that he's encountered in his life. So he doesn't always try and paint himself in the best light when he's writing these stories about himself. So that's one thing that's really spoken to me, is his just brutal honesty. So I would just encourage anybody who, whether you're talking to a child or whether it's for yourself, to just read anything that you can by Gary Paulsen, because he is truly inspiring. His writing style has just, really affected the way that I've written personally, and I think that everyone can benefit from him. I know a lot of his stories are about boys coming of age, but even females can really, really find a way to relate to his stories. So please, please, please read whatever you can by Gary Paulsen. Thank you.